All right, this video is to demonstrate how to serialize into a class using the JSON serializer and interfaces. So JSON does allow you to serialize classes that are based off of interfaces. And I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, this is my test class. This string right here is different from your string because I was playing with this to see if maybe we could trick it using this new feature I just read about. Apparently it doesn't matter. So just because I have it working and I got to get going, I'm going to leave it in there. So this is how it works. This integ bill is a class which inherits from the interface, and all of my interfaces or all of my classes use interfaces in the properties. They don't use classes. And the reason why is, for collaboration purposes. I mean, that's the whole purpose of an interface, is to be a contract amongst programmers. Make sure we all follow the rules. So when you see this right here, this is where I was trying to get my stuff to work with your stuff without having to change too much. And then I realized it was going to have to change everything. And so I said, we got to talk to the guys and see if there's a better way. So ignore this. I just switched it back to the regular class that I had right down here, the regular properties. So here are my properties. And the reason that this won't serialize with JSON or any deserializer or serializer is because of interfaces like this. And even that IList causes a problem. This will cause a problem, and this will cause a problem. Now there's two ways you can fix this. I'm going to show you both ways. There's the easy way and there's the cheating way. So the easy way is to simply come down here, highlight all your properties, do the old shift period, and build out a constructor that will populate every property. Okay. Now you don't have to do that if your property is a standard data type, integer, strings, date times, blah, blah, blah. But if it's your own class, you have to. So here's the cheating way. The cheating way is to simply bring in the fields that are having problems. And notice I'm not bringing in an interface type here. I think you could, but just in case, I didn't do it that way. So I'm going to show you where you can do it both ways. But right here, I'm bringing in the hard class versus an interface. So I'm bringing in a type of a class instead of an interface type. And all you do is you populate. So this was easy. MOP, the property up above, bill method of payment, becomes MOP. Now I always, even though this is the JSON constructor, I always call the this and populate or instantiate my properties with the base class. And then also, if you have multiple constructors, you want to include an attribute, the JSON constructor attribute, so that JSON knows, hey, use this to figure out how to populate. So for simple classes where it's not a list or enumeration, you can just define it and assign it. If it's an enumeration, then because you would have to have like an I list of an I integ bill item, and you can't just define it right off the bat, I just do this little trick. I just run it through a Lambda loop, and I just add to my property bill items, which is an I list of an I integ bill item. So they're both interfaces, and I add in the R. But we want our R to be expressed as my interface type instead of the class type. So here I've got I integ bill item, okay? And that's going to build out the bill items for us. Now, let's go to the vendor master. Well, actually, let's go to a bill item. So the bill item is my intact bill item. So let's go to All right, so here's my intact bill item, which inherits from my intact bill item. And as you can see, the properties are just your straight properties. So I did the same thing that I did before. I just come down here, highlight all that, and I create this new constructor. Just to be consistent, I built this out really quick, so I skipped this part. I'm just going to make sure I call my this in case I have to populate anything in the future. So JSON constructor, it's going to know to read this, and it knows that all of the types in here are the following types that I passed in. Well, this is an easy one. There's not a whole lot to it. It would have serialized anyway, just based on the first thing that we did over here in the intact bills. Okay. Now let's go look at the iVendor master. So I'm passing an intact vendor master in here. Let's go look at it. It inherits from the iVendor master. Again, I did the same thing, or just highlighted all my properties, and I created my JSON constructor right here. I called the this to make sure I instantiate my properties that require instantiation, so that I won't get an error while it's trying to populate. I'm going to mark that. I'm going to put a breakpoint there. And again, because I have a collection, this is just my preferred way of doing it. I took down the bank information right here and passed it in, recast it as a time method of payment instead of the intact bank information type. All right, and so that's going to populate. So let's see, let's watch it work. You know what? For grins and giggles, I'm going to take that out and see if it works with the old one as well. So I'm just going to get rid of this serialization setting. And let's see what happens. All right, so let's step into it. All right, here's it calling the JSON. And that's a no-brainer, so it doesn't like it. So I'm going to go back to the other way. Oh, you know what? I want to throw through it JSON from Greatrix. Let's try that. And the reason I'm saying that is this JSON here, this string from Greatrix, was the one I sent you earlier, and I didn't use the settings, the serializer settings to generate that one. If you're going to deserialize with the JSON settings, you have to serialize with the JSON settings. So because I'm taking it out right here, not using it, I need to use the JSON that wasn't serialized with it. So let's see what happens. Boom. Same error, I bet. Yep. All right, so let's go back to the one that works. So you'll probably have to do the same thing, and I'll attach this sample to the ticket for you. The difference between here is this one now says, okay, auto type name handling be auto. So let's go watch it work. This one should be calling JSON. Okay, good. Okay, dropping through here, doing the vendor master. This is my bank information. As you can see, it whipped right through there and put them out there into my class. Exactly how I expected. Sweet. Okay, and that's how this part got filled in for the JSON. That's why that was important. And then come down here, doing the same thing. So you see the cheating method works too. because when we get our class back, we should see that it's populated. Okay, now we're back into the intact bill, and it's just going to fill through all this stuff, skipping over the ones that already got populated, of course. And now we can look at our object, and you can see I typed it in here into the Deserialize object to pass it in right here using the class, not the interface. I'll try it with the interface and see if it works. But, you know, populating the actual class. And so we can look at the class, and you can see that it's populated. Now, if you don't want nulls, just update that in your base constructor. And there's our bill items, boom, and our vendor master should have a couple EFT payments populated. So as you can see, it works. Now let's just for grins and giggles, make this where did I put that? That's where I put it. So let's see if this will work. Of course, I'll have to recast it. Let's see if that works. I'm just curious. Theoretically, it should. But I didn't write that serializer, so I wouldn't know. And it failed. What's the reason? Nope, it doesn't like it. So you do have to use the hard class. I mean the class versus the interface. So anyway, I'll put the video and the samples up on the ticket for you.